Rebecca, do we have an update on this?
We do. I received both a phone call and an email earlier today that the applicant has requested a continuance for lot 31 Nashway Road to the next available conservation meeting. The only other information I got was that they're trying to recollect, and we were able to get out on site. Jeff, Brian, and I were on site yesterday, and it was delineated during the winter, so now that the vegetation's up, and it makes things a lot more clear. There wasn't any substantial changes, but we had just asked them to add a couple more flags to make it a little more obvious. And they were going to send the engineers or surveyors back in to geolocate those flags. So that may be it as well. My point is they may still be turning around the plans since it was such a short period. But the other question, I guess, that adds on to that is the Board of Health is having a meeting on July 24th. So I don't know if we want to switch dates.
Gotcha.
In order to continue this to the next meeting.
Board of Health isn't meeting about this plot?
No.
Just regular?
Just in general, but we have to, you have to continue it to an exact date and time.
Oh, so July 24th, I see.
So
Yeah, do we have?
you can bump it out to the 31st. I don't.
Do we have a meeting the 31st? Yeah. First of all, is there anyone here tonight to talk about Lot 31 Nashway?
Yes.
Okay. So just to give a quick update, and Rebecca, please correct me if I go off here, just to what they're asking for, what the owner's asking for, this whole abbreviated notice of resource area delineation is, as the maps exist, it shows where that stream goes through, it shows where the wetlands are. Before proposing anything, they want us to agree to say, we agree where the wetlands are now and where they're tracked and that they're actually marked correctly. Because anything you would want to do there, there's offsets you have to meet from wetlands specifically. There's nothing that's been proposed for that lot yet that I'm aware of that any of us know of. All that we know of right now is that they've asked to have that area redelineated and to go out with us and check with us as to where exactly those boundaries are and come up with something we can agree upon. And that's kind of what we did the other day. We were out yesterday, we went out for a site walk, kind of see where they had flagged, had some questions. They actually moved the flags closer, a little closer to the roadway from where they had originally marked them in the winter. And we're hoping tonight to kind of go through that map with them and see what we could agree on as to what was wetland, what wasn't. And now they've asked to continue this, to basically have it pushed back to another meeting, because it looks like with where it reflagged, they want to rethink what's going to be viable, what's going to be possible, what they might actually ask for. Go ahead.
Do we know anything about who this owner is? Who is this person?
No, so the applicant is Molly Obendorf. It's a site engineer from Stampsky and McNary. So that's who has filed the ANRAD with us.
Oh, because on the paper it lists somebody else as the owner, which is what I meant. Like this person, Kevin Donnell's from Lancaster.
Yeah. So I know that the same last name runs with the original developer. I don't know if there's a direct relationship there or not. My assumption is that there is, and they're saying, here's a piece of land that's left over from the development, and we're looking into what resources are there.
The developer of what?
Of that entire area.
Nashaway. The home's on
Nashaway?
Nashaway.
Right,
One's on
yeah.
Nashaway, because I wasn't familiar with that name. We're on Kettle Hole. I'm not
George
familiar with that name.
was the man who developed that list. And
Okay.
he built all those homes on Nashaway.
So we'll get another one of these then?
Correct. Well,
Or?
no. So you have to, it's posted online. It's also, well, these are posted online, and we'll say tonight when the next meeting date is, so
Okay.
you will know before leaving, and that's why I was just bringing up, that our original meeting date that we had determined, just in general, sort of looking forward, may be changed, but changed during this meeting, because we have to establish when this is continued until.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Any other initial questions? Okay, yeah, I wish I had it overnight, that's kind of all it is.
Do we know
right
how
now.
much land is
I
there?
mean, it seems like a pretty small area with the wetlands down there.
I've seen
Have they
some-
located the house on the property?
No,
Yeah,
no, so this is just strictly, I have not received any development plans. I've not received anything more than the ANRAD, which is an abbreviation for resource delineation. So it is literally just establishing, this is where the resource areas are, and then from there, on the plans, they would display buffers associated with those that are jurisdictional to the commission. So in hindsight, not speculating anything, it could be for protecting land, it could be for development, or it could just be, we have this leftover parcel, what is it good for? Is it good for anything?
Okay.
So I think they're in the fact-finding stages. It seems that way, since I haven't heard or seen any other plans come forward at this point.
Because that development in Nashaway, that was done a long time ago. wasn't
Yes,
it?
yes.
I mean, they must know this has been there for a long time.
Right, and over that length of time, it is possible, and with a lot of development in the area, that wetland lines may change. In this case, they haven't, as is expected, because most of the time, it doesn't alter the wetland resource areas. But that's why you would want to have it redelineated, and if it's a new owner or generations later, they would want to do that fact-finding exercise to in fact confirm one way or another.
Any other questions right now?
Just as an aside, there's an old rusty wheelbarrow and a lawn chair out there.
My dog out there.
So you might want to, if that's important to you, you might want to
Yeah.
pick it up.
It's not ours.
Not ours.
We have no,
Just saying.
we have no way of
31st.
picking it up,
Yeah, that's okay.
You need real equipment to pick that
It's a
up.
wheelbarrow.
But I mean, you need a truck or something, you need,
To put it on.
you know.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. Does the 31st work for you if we
Yeah, that's.
say the
that's fine.
31st until are you available?
Yeah, I'll be there.
Excellent.
Yeah.
All right. In that case, I would like to make a motion that we continue the public hearing for Lot 31 Nashway Road until our meeting July 31st at 7 PM,
7:50.
7:15 PM.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye? So continued. So we'll see, maybe some of you again on the 31st.
We'll be here.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you.
Jeff, you have the second?
Yes.
Do we have anybody here from Tom Day?
I'm not sure. We can, if we want to talk about the Century Mill Road Lot 1,
Mhm.
just because I know the residents here.
Yep.
And that was just regarding the tree line.
Yeah.
Doesn't have a what?
A plan,
Oh, map?
yeah.
Well, do we really need one?
No, not
Because
technically.
we agreed to put trees in there and not a lawn.
Well, originally, yes, that was what was
Yeah.
conditioned.
Yeah.
So the question is, currently it's lawn and it's stable with that lawn that's there now. Do we, well, I guess three things. Do we accept it and have it be a field amendment? Do we accept it and have it be an amendment to the order, a formal amendment? Or do we stay with the original order of conditions that shows that it is a tree line, and then let it just revegetate naturally around those trees or shrubs? But I don't have any sort of a planting plan, so that we would also be requiring a planting plan.
So no matter which one of those we choose, so are they gonna have to come back and
Yep, so
redo the plan, redo the whole
no, so
process?
they would supplement, not redo the process, it's still an open order of conditions, it
Okay.
hasn't been closed out. If the commission chooses to say, no, it's on the original order of conditions, so we're gonna require you to keep it as a tree line, it would be beneficial to the commission to have the contractor or developer come in with a proposed planting to revegetate that area. But outside of that, if it's in the field amendment, it would just be a change on an as-built that's submitted upon requesting the certificate of compliance. If it is a more formal amendment, then they would be coming back, proposing the amendment with a new set of plans, again, to keep that grass area.
This is, you were not out on Century Mill Road, I don't think. This was,
For their,
The original Goddard property.
Yeah.
Which one?
It was a Goddard property originally, but next to 95 Century Mill Road.
there was the one house setback originally, and
Yeah.
then they split it and they put the second house
Right,
on.
yeah.
There was a section that was supposed to be treed or wooded,
Mhm.
and it's a, God, how many square yards? 10 square yards?
Yes.
Maybe section, that they ended up lawning.
Mhm.
It's along the side of the driveway. You know, it was a question of, should we accept it, should we not? I know, Bill, you were out, and Jeff was out. My original leaning with this one, it's a tight site. It's a beautiful site, it really is. It's a beautiful site, and it was a very tight site. It was very difficult to get anything approved in there. It was one of the rare occasions that we actually used peer review. We actually had to hire an outside company to review the plan, to put in place what they thought would be absolutely best to maintain that property. That said, my indication is I would probably rather see them revegetate that area and go back to wooded, which is what the plans had called for, which is what the outside firm had suggested was the best way to do it.
Yep. Is it near the vernal pool?
It's on the
It's on the
opposite
opposite
side of the driveway from that.
Okay,
So it's relative shade to it, but
yeah.
it's kind of the way I would just lean, just because, like I said, I know that was such a tight project, and it was so well laid out,
Mhm.
not so much by us, but by outside counsel.
Yeah, it's on the plan, it's our fault that they didn't follow it.
that was my thought
Any
too.
other thoughts? Yeah.
It was a tight,
Both those.
both of them were, yeah.
Is that something we need to vote on? Is that something we can just
I
let the
would
contractor
poll.
know? Yep.
Just so that I can go back and let him know and say the commission pulled, but it doesn't need to be voted, it was already voted on condition.
Sure.
So it was just an ask,
Yeah.
if he could go one way or the other, so it'd be beneficial just to do a poll of the commission.
All right, so the three options basically are accept with field conditions, accept with formal amendment, or ask to stick with the original order conditions. So I'll go first with, do you feel we should ask the contractor to stick with the original order of conditions, yea or nay? And I'm just gonna go one by one. So Lori,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
And I'm a yes myself.
And that's to stick with the original order of conditions of at this point, reestablishing a tree line
Okay.
and
On the,
requiring a planting plan.
yes.
Okay.
And I'm not sure if they were off, if he was off anywhere else. Again, those I think I'd be fine with the field amendment, because
Okay.
everything kind of stuck to the general idea. It was just that one area, if that makes sense.
Especially the outside firm.
Well, there's some issues in the backyard too that he agreed to, right?
The drainage, but
The
that,
drainage
But that's
was,
something.
he was fixing
Yeah.
that, that wasn't necessarily gonna ask. alternate to the audience, or?
I do, yeah, that's a really good point. I was gonna say, any additional comments or thoughts from anyone tonight regarding
No,
it?
I mean, was Bob supposed to come propose something? But it looks like it doesn't matter.
Yeah, and he almost didn't need, he could have tried to make the
could-
case
okay,
for a
okay,
good reason
make
why
the
not to
case,
put
okay.
something there.
Okay.
But it was such a tough build. It was fairly well laid out. I don't think it would have changed
Okay.
much
Okay.
if that makes sense.
That makes sense.
Okay.
Got it.
Other comments? Our newest possible member.
Oh, yes. Chris McNamara, he's been to one site visit and had come to multiple meetings just as Bill had, and he will be appointed if the commission votes tonight to accept him at Thursday's meeting of Board of Selectmen.
People have a chance to meet Chris while he was here
I
a
did
few
meet him,
times.
yeah.
But he had questions, concerns. Seems like he's willing to come and he's really level-headed, so. All right, in that case, I'd like to, again, poll the commission on the possible acceptance of Christopher McNamara as the newest member of the Conservation Commission. Lori,
Love to have them.
excellent. Bill?
Yes.
All for it.
All right, that's 4 yays. And if possible, I'll try to go to 42nd. There's like 3 things that we need to be in there, and they're all at different times.
Yeah.
All at absolutely different times. That is this Thursday.
I'm gonna be in Hawaii.
No, well, sure.
Have fun.
You can call in.
I'll
You can get you,
WebEx.
yeah.
Skype
Yeah.
your way in.
You can Skype you in there, that's no problem. Did everybody have a chance to look through the minutes from last meeting?
Yep.
All right,
I have no comment.
any issues? I found no issues. I actually did have a chance to read through them. All right, in that case, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the minutes for our June 19, 2018 meeting as drafted and submitted.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So moved. Is there any specific business you would like to take up in any order?
It does
Henderson?
does say on the minutes that the July 24th is the next meeting.
Yeah, so I can change that. And we can talk about the shed. It was fairly quick.
Do you think we may have a rep that's trying? I don't know.
I'm not confident, and it looked like they had a meeting upstairs.
Okay, then we can definitely just take it out. Just a discussion on the possible second shed for the Tom Denny Nature Camp. Is there an update to what they're looking for?
There isn't from the email that I had sent out. They have put the shed that was approved last year down by the water, and then they replaced one of the larger sheds up at their home base area. And the question was, and I wasn't confident one way or another because I remember distinctly like moving the shed down, taking the shed from above. And their question was, because they moved that, can they then replace that shed that's there? Or that is now not at the home base? And their question was also to replace it with something a little bit larger, but it seemed that maybe replacing it with the same size would be amenable, if anything. But I had said I would come back to the commission because I was not confident one way or another to answer that question.
It's a good question of how large are we talking, which I guess
Yeah.
they know. In general, I think it's fine, you know, a shed that's the same size or,
Less.
yeah, or like, I would say 10% bigger. But, you know, I have to give them to, you know, if they're looking at a shed that's 11% bigger, then what's the
Right.
issue? Could we possibly, or could you possibly, email, ask them if they could just get us the dimensions of the shed they're thinking,
Yes.
or approximate dimensions? I mean,
I believe it was 7 by 7.
all right.
Remember it correctly, because the original was, it was 5 by 3 or something. It was fairly small, narrow.
Yeah, I mean, this is up at their home base, so it's not down on the pond, this is
Yeah.
back where they had their shed, 2 sheds basically.
Right.
I mean, I don't really have a problem with them
I
going
don't
to
either.
a 7 by 7 from a 5 by 5 from where their camp is.
I don't need, what are they gonna put in this? This is the one up at the other end, not by the water. The one by
Right.
the water is to hold like big truck
That was-
stuff and paddles.
Paddles.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
some of the bigger stuff.
lifeguard.
So I don't have a problem with it.
Let's see, you thought approximately 7 by 7?
Yeah.
All right, what if I say we'll do a lovely informal poll, because that seems to work really well tonight. Would you be in favor or opposed to them adding a shed size 8 foot by 8 foot or smaller?
Yes?
That's fine.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah. Laura, why don't we go
Sorry,
Jeff first? Do you want to go
sorry.
first?
No.
I go ladies first.
No, ladies first.
Lori first.
That's fine.
All right, so
Yes, fine.
Yes.
Jeffrey, again, that's cool, I think that's fine. Anything bigger? We're gonna have to schedule multiple.
And this is like one of those portable things, right?
Yeah, it's a
Just on
non-permanent.
cinder
Yeah,
block.
I think it's on cinders, yeah, and it's not down on the pond.
Right. Or pulling out.
Okay.
Um,
That's,
So, sort of back to Century Mill Road,
yes,
Bob had emailed me and said, or had shared an interest in potentially requesting a certificate of compliance. And I said, let me get out and do a site visit, and see if and what the outstanding items are, to better answer that question. And I am not confident in issuing a certificate of compliance for that property as of yet. There's at least 2 smaller erosion issues similar to the ones on Lot 1, but not at the rear of the property, at the side of the property. And then in addition to that, on the original plans that were permitted, there's a relatively small retaining wall at the front of the property, about 2 or 3 feet out from the walk to the front door of the single-family home, and it doesn't exist. And that's where that erosion is happening. And that, I think that would be fairly easy to do after the fact. I reached out to him via phone, left a message, and sent an email with things broken down, to just establish exactly what would be required before he even requests it. And then there was another alteration, and I had just basically asked him for the number comparison because the driveway was slightly altered in terms of where the turnout was. So instead of having a turnout, it went straight.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to know the difference in pervious versus impervious. I don't think it's significant enough to cause a problem, but I just needed those numbers to confirm it. So those were really the 2 main outstanding items, but I have confidence that he'll fix those. And we talked about the site visit to lot 31. Oh, yes, the mail that had come is the Henderson Striker, which is also another item. The other item of mail we had received was from the MACC organization, just basically stating membership dues are due. And just, again, notifying new members and old members that there are fundamentals trainings, if anyone wants to attend those and when those are coming up.
Henderson's going up for next year, it looks like.
Yep, so this is, what you have in your packets is the proposal. If we would like to add on, so annually, they do a fall mowing of Butternut and Bower Springs. The multiple fields on both more general properties. And what we had asked is because the invasives we have, especially at Bower Springs and at Butternut Farm, the drainage areas or the perennial stream areas are basically just starting to get some larger diameter shrubs in them.
Mhm.
So it's good once in a while just to cut them back and let them regrow and regenerate. So that's where this stemmed from. I've been on the phone with him just discussing those options and the items. It's also relating back to a management plan that was created before I was here, discussing 3 options, one of which was spot mowing and doing these sort of specific treatments to those areas. And I let him know that as of right now, I can't say we're using any sort of herbicides, but certainly cutting or pulling or removing in that sense. The commission would be interested in finding out what the potential cost would be associated with it.
So it's basically just those 2, right? Would be the 2 optional ones at the end, right? The rest is kind of following the management plan or some of what we've done in the past.
They're following the management plan. The difference is, the difference in we have budgeted for this.
Yeah.
Because I had asked him for a very rough estimate prior to the budget hearing so that we could, in fact, add it in if the commission wishes to do this. So we weren't sort of sitting there with our hands tied. So it is more costly instead of just the fall mowing. So for instance, obviously the fall mowing of the 2 properties is around just under $4,000. So now you have these additional items, the spot mowing in June and July, and then monitoring basic plants, some basic treatments. So it is similar, but I wouldn't say it's just those 2 back items, but those are the 2 that would be the most optional in terms of it's not necessary and it's not a critical, I guess, interest to do right away.
How close does it track the budget to what we had budgeted?
I believe it's $1,000 less
Oh, than what we had already put in for them?
for
Yeah, his rough.
land, yeah, for his rough estimate.
Yeah.
So he had, well, excuse me, let me back up. It's about $100 less than his rough estimate. It's about $1,000 under the budget that we typically pay out of for this work.
Do we have anything else planned? Trying to think what else comes off that line.
I can't think of anything that comes off that specific line, and we also have another line item that for larger projects that are improving properties, it can come out of as well. So that's typically not used as heavily as this line item is.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. And we don't need to really make a vote or anything on this week?
Nope, we don't.
We need to let him know at some point.
Yeah, and it just depends on, for instance, the spot mowing. So he's very much aware of when the best times to do things are.
Yep.
That's why he's placed a general timeline for it on this. So it would be beneficial to know at least by our next meeting, I think.
Yeah.
But it doesn't need to be voted on or established tonight.
And the only reason I asked that, I'm just curious to know everybody's thoughts, and I don't know if you want more time to look through it. I'm curious, Lori, what you think of like the mowings and their necessity. I'm curious to think, from what you know, Rebecca, just to figure out if, is it necessary? We know, I think they do fairly good work. Henderson Stryker's been doing butternut and bowers for us for a number of years. And they've done other projects surrounding some of the invasive management projects there. And they did actually come out and give us a full, presentation, thank you, is the word I cannot come up with tonight. A presentation on what they wanted to do, some of how he wanted to, what he was looking to do for a management plan. So that's where we're talking. We did end up budgeting for it this year.
So he's mowed for you in the past, though?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I just was curious if people want to take time to look through this, get your thoughts. Like I said, I'd love to hear your thoughts on the optional mowings or any of the different services, what you thought, how necessary you thought they are, whether you thought this was a good plan.
Yeah, I mean, I can say, in terms of his knowledge base relative to conservation properties as well, because I'm sure you'd be able to find something cheaper for going in field mowing, because mowing is mowing. It's pretty easy in terms of the larger fields. It's very convenient and beneficial for this company because the fact that he has worked on conservation restrictions, other conservation properties in other towns. Obviously, he's worked with us in the past, and we appreciate the work that's been done. I had been on the phone with him, basically talking about these management plans, and he had said he can come in if the commission wants, after looking at this, to answer any questions, give another presentation if necessary, specific to what he's proposing.
For the spot movie.
Huh?
For the spot movie.
Yes, for all of
Just
all of
all
this.
of
it, yeah.
So,
For all this, you have money in the budget to do it, though, right?
correct.
Yes.
Yep.
In the fall, mowing is slightly more expensive than what you thought, like $100 or something? Is that what it was?
No, so the this whole estimate, this overall cost is $100 less than his rough estimate
Oh, okay.
of what
So
he
it's
gave
pretty
us
close
during
to what
budget
he
year.
thought.
Which is how we budgeted
Yes.
for it, yeah.
And then we budgeted slightly over that for other land management items.
He's been doing this for a while. He's out of Lincoln, too?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
So he's working on land in Lincoln, Concord, and stuff like that.
Yes. He also, they lease out some of the agricultural or conservation properties for agricultural purposes. So they do other things as well, that if we were ever interested in getting involved in, they could give us just what they do, sort of thing, to reference.
And Henderson Stryker, that's just the guy's name? Or is
His
it-
name is Jim Henderson.
Okay.
If I remember, he did a lot of work at the, over where the, over in Concord, out in the
Lexington,
Battlefield.
Concord.
Yes.
green and all that kind
Yep.
of stuff.
Yeah.
He's very careful about, what's going on there, what's in the ground, and not
Right.
destroying anything that's sort of.
Knows his
It's
plant
still-
Yeah, even
material.
his root
Yeah.
system.
Yeah, I'd like to go see what he's done. He's probably done pretty good work.
I think it's all on his website, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken.
There's a lot of stuff on the website that is on there, so it's.
That's what like I'm very comfortable with using in the past. I'm very comfortable. It's one of the reasons we
Yeah.
put in. But we also
Right.
have a lot of new members this year. There's yourself, there's Emily, and that'll be Christopher.
Yep.
Yeah, so I need to go see these fields, take a walk through it, see what's there.
It's
I'll
yeah,
take a look at what he's done. I mean, I lived in Concord and Lincoln the last couple of years. I go see where he's mowed.
It's not a bad thing, right?
Yeah.
Just to have a
He
fresh
sounds
pair of
like
eyes.
he's probably pretty good.
They're generally pretty good, but again, to have new people, these are good times to take a look at this because
Right.
Lieutenant always likes to squeeze us on our budget.
Yep.
Town?
That's-
I can't imagine.
Yeah.
And then to
Alright.
answer your question about the two optional, I think Edge clearing or cleaning, however you want to phrase it. I think that's very beneficial. Specifically, Bower Spring butternut is starting to get there, but it's starting to climb up into the trees at pretty
Yes.
large diameter.
Yeah,
I mean, for a vine. And
it doesn't take long.
no, exactly. And then in addition to that, the field stream bank, that was something that we didn't go back and forth on in terms of any sort of an argument, but just going back and forth on weighing out, okay, can we wait? Do we need to do it this year? Do we need to do it next year? How long can we wait? In my mind, he said we would be able to wait at least until next year or the year after, but then that would be sort of the ultimate time period when it's gonna start causing problems to the flow of that stream. In my mind, it would be beneficial if the commission wishes to use him to do it this year, and then we can wait a significant amount of time before expending the same amount of funds again to do that same work.
So if you have a chance to email them or let them know that we have a number of new members, we just want to take another look and that we'll vote one way or the other at our next meeting.
Okay.
Do you think that's sort of like a site visit with him?
Um,
I
If
don't
you
know.
guys could do it, I'd love to go see it.
I mean, is that what that would be? I mean, would you go out there in Bower Springs and,
He can be available for a site visit, but, and
I'm not suggesting, I'm just saying.
No, I'm trying to think if he's done it before with like a map where he comes in with the overlay of Bower Springs
Yeah, I
and
know.
kind of shows.
Well, he did
you.
that last time, so I think, I remember correctly, didn't
I
he?
Yeah.
think you're right.
Yep.
I think you're right.
But if he wanted to go out and say,
Yeah, I think I can go out and take a look.
okay.
And it'll make sense after I see this.
Yeah,
I'll see what he's done in Concord and Lincoln. He sounds pretty good.
yeah,
Yeah.
but it's always like I said.
No, I
it's
just
nice
need to
double
see
check.
it.
Yeah, I would
Yeah, I
like
need
to,
to see it.
I'd like to get the thoughts.
anything to kill a poison ivy. Anything.
Yeah,
That's
And
good.
the bishop. And the bishop. Yeah, good.
It looks like we got an estimate for fixing our stone pillar.
Oh, yes, we have,
Is that still the stone pillar? No.
yes.
Oh, it is?
We have one estimate that came in. I did contact 4 different stone masons or individuals that did hardscapes and did decent work. And I'm still waiting to hear back from one that does work locally.
And
But I
what is
went
this
out-
for?
I'll show you.
So to back up a little bit, our Five Shire Dam Conservation Area off of Wattaquatic Hill Road, it has, I think, and I may be misspeaking, but I don't think so. It's one of our only properties with a grand entranceway, I guess.
Okay.
So it's a large stone gateway almost, without gates, with an iron based,
This is what happened.
Yeah, I saw the email.
yes. So unfortunately, something
We
hit
don't
it
know
at a
what it
high
is.
It's a
point.
Prius.
Pretty sure it's a large dump truck was where it was hit. And basically pulled down that pillar at the same time. So we are looking at a restoration, not a repair,
Yep.
which is fine. And the individuals I talked to, they said they would even rework it and see if they could take any other funds off of it, because I mentioned there's a sign associated with it. And just sort of after seeing the property, instead of just going by the images and different things like that, and they said it would take a day, maybe 2 days to complete. But right now, they're 3 weeks out, and I let them know we're probably about 3 weeks out as well in terms of getting estimates back and then having the commission formally vote to expend those funds. And I believe we have the funds in our budget. It would come out of the lane capital line item. But, you know, that's up to the.
Isn't it insured? Don't we have insurance on it or something?
No, that is another, we did go that route. The town secretary did contact a representative from the insurance agency that's used because our direct contact apparently was on vacation. She's going to speak to him when he returns to the office, just to again double check that it's not covered. But I am also having the conversations of, is there any structures on conservation, which there aren't that many,
Yeah.
but are any
Like
structures, right, are there any structures that are in fact covered? Because now, you know, as things get older, that's something we need to be aware of.
Mhm.
But I don't know if, in terms of this number, I know it's the first, hopefully we get more. If we do not, I don't know if anyone's familiar with this sort of work, or if this is, you know, egregious of a number or not. But it seems fairly reasonable to me by the sounds of the work they have to do. They're literally chipping off the concrete, putting the stones back together, trying to salvage as much as they can. And they did note, which I thought was beneficial as well, the fact that the concrete's obviously going to be a lighter color. So aesthetically, that's the only thing that's going to look, or that should look off.
Eventually they'll catch up.
Right, exactly. And they had stated that if they are hired to do it, they will try to mix something in to match it, but it's not gonna be.
It's, yeah, no, it's very natural. All right, so we'll await more estimates.
Where did this guy come from?
Clinton.
Yeah, but I mean, did you know, did he town recommended or just somebody?
No, I literally looked up stonemasons.
In the phone book?
Yep. Along with, I reached out to some people and said, have you had work done by individuals? Along with, I did reach out to one individual who I don't think is going to be able to do the work, but just to get a quote from them to say, you know, this is around what the price
And you know he's
should
gonna
be.
put the iron thing back in now.
Yeah, so they weren't aware of that until we went out on site, and that's why he said these numbers will be altered, but they said they were trying to go down $100 or $200 on it, even though that sign will be included. For whatever reason, after being out on site, and we did look at because the iron portion of the sign is still on the property,
Right.
where the wooden sign, Jeff
Yeah, so-
intelligently removed from the property so
Yes.
that we wouldn't tempt anyone to pick it up on their way by.
Totally would have taken that.
Not using it anymore.
Totally would have had that sign, yeah.
Yep.
Put it on
I was thinking about putting it in my backyard myself,
Yeah.
but I figured, no, that would, you'd see it.
I'm glad
That'd
you
be all
did,
over
yeah.
it. But it looks like somebody just, you know, when you look at the thing, it looks like somebody was going down there with a truck and backed in to turn around and just knocked it over and said, oops, and then drove away.
No one's
Right.
looking.
Yeah.
No one's looking.
No cameras.
Keep going, keep going.
I'm out of here.
Rover's not around.
But it was sort of,
Should chase
you
it
know,
down.
it did sort of shock me when I saw it. I said, how the heck?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and the DPW director looked at it too, and he came to the same assumption that it was a larger vehicle that had to have hit it at a higher point.
Well, it was probably a rental truck that hit the.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
That backed in there and hit the iron thing, and somebody said, oops, hit an iron thing, and that thing just knocked
I'll
over.
have to go check out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
That's
it's over and done with.
Figure
Don't
it out
ever
now.
anybody.
Do we have anything else?
Not except if anyone has any conservation project ideas or Tom Day Nature Camp. We have suggested to them to make birdhouses because some of them have fallen or broken or just
Well, that's a good
we
idea.
need more in the field areas. And then also the water testing for Earth Eco, we're doing the last week of July with the campers and at Bower Springs, obviously. And then Jeff is helping lead a bog bridge
Bog
duck
bridge.
board making project.
A bog bridge?
Or duck boards.
Duck
Duck boards. Some people call it bog bridges, some people call it duck boards. It's basically putting planks down so you don't trump through the mud.
Right.
So we're gonna go in there and measure it. Gordon and I and a couple of the other guys that are on the trail committee are gonna cut them up, mark them, and then give the kids, okay, put the nail there.
Let the kids carry
Let them
it.
assemble
the
them.
kids carry them.
Yeah. That'll work well.
I'm trying to figure out exactly when they want to do that. I haven't talked to the other guys.
You don't take them cave diving or anything?
No.
No.
Seems like the thing to do.
Is there a cave running somewhere?
Sure, somebody could find.
Keep the kids entertained.
Yeah, keep them
For a
entertained.
couple of weeks anyways.
It's not large.
Well, we did talk about pulling invasives, but I saw an email come back from Ellie today that she was a little loath to
Poison ivy.
get the kids out there to stop pulling invasives because
There's a
of the
lot of
poison
poison
ivy.
out here.
It's the town flower.
That's what I was just looking at, but I don't know if you've ever used jewelry on it before.
No.
Use what?
That
Jewelry
works excellent.
works excellent. I was trying to find a picture to show you, but I couldn't, I get it. keeps
What's it
going.
called?
Jewelry, it grows with poison ivy,
Oh.
basically.
Oh, really?
I was gonna say, it grows pretty much everywhere in Bolton too.
Everywhere, yeah. And, I mean, it's just a fleshy, you just take it and.
You rub it?
Rub it, and it's, yeah.
I just try to wash after as quick as I can.
But, if you want to bring your goats over there,
Yes.
we could bring them over there and put a little fence up
I
there
have
with
little
the
teeny goats.
kids could watch the
The
goats.
kids would love these little guys. I'm
I was to
serious.
say, if we had the mobile fencing, right? The
Well, we
kids
get
could-
some mobile fence, you
the-
could have them put
The
up
kids
the
could set
fencing.
up the mobile fencing,
And you get
and
poison
then,
ivy.
somebody
I
can
mean,
help them transport the goats.
I could just bring the goats over during the day for them. The goats do anything I want, right?
This
What
is,
are you gonna
we'll
see?
email Ellie and let her know we have an
They're
idea.
gonna have,
I mean,
I know.
that's
I
the
know.
milking
Oh,
stand,
that's
right? So the
excellent.
babies are all sitting in
That's
there,
excellent.
right? They're just hilarious. They're like, they're the
So if you
nicest-
took them to a strange spot and just wandered around
They
there
really
while
don't
they ate,
care.
would they?
There's the little guy with like the bad leg.
Oh.
So I'm just saying, if you, and
See, he's
this is off
got
the
a
record,
deformed
we're still on
front
the
right
record.
leg.
Oh.
Yeah.
Stays like this all the time, right?
So I'll ask Ellie. if that's
Oh,
okay.
he's the
Yeah, that'd be
cutest.
kind
Yeah.
of cool to have
Yeah.
a bunch of little goats over there.
Yeah.
Little
Oh my
petting zoo.
God, I haven't seen a porcupine in,
Oh,
That was last week in Vermont.
really?
I had to come home early July 4th to get them pulled
Pink.
out.
Pink out.
yeah, you
From
can't
the
even
sleep?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think he'll sniff around a porcupine.
No, it's usually a one-time
You'd be
lesson.
surprised.
I on purpose drove home to get to a vet instead of bringing them to a vet up in Rutland. And I says, no, you're gonna sit with these for an hour or two more.
Yeah, you're gonna think about this.
Because you're gonna think about this the next time you see a small porcupine.
So if we come up with more ideas, we will let you know.
Okay.
No, that might work.
The goat
right?
thing works.
Let me,
Yeah,
yeah,
but
let me
you-
find, Jeff, let me talk to you, because that might, because I can bring them during the day. I don't know if you want them there all the time. right?
Yeah, I'll email her.
I don't know if you want like an electric fence thing.
That's probably a good decision.
Yeah, with
The
the
kiddos
to be
are gonna get
honest.
zapped
Yeah.
as much as the goats.
No.
Yeah.
I-
No,
I-
their counselors are pretty good.
Okay.
It's a heavily used property by dogs, so that would be.
Oh,
I
we'll
would
keep the
say-
dogs away. That might be
Yeah.
a good idea too.
Yep.
Because these goats are really, really good with people, right?
I believe it, yeah.
Yeah, because of the little one, I've been with them constantly.
So they're
Just
so
the
they're
rest of them
socialized
are
and
they're really well socialized.
Is there a thing, bring your goat to work with you day?
Not at Raytheon, no.
Still working on the one.
Like bring your daughter to work, bring your goat to work.
At work days.
Yeah.
Okay, you
I
have
know.
work days too, yeah,
I
yeah.
can't see it happening at Raytheon anytime soon.
We can hope. Anybody have anything else? New fun business? All right. Sticking with custom, we will have our newest member sing us out with a rendition of the Bolton Town theme song.
There is such a thing?
I honestly don't know, but we can wait.
What's with the girl from Nantucket?
All right, I'm going to make a motion that we officially close the Tuesday, June 10th, 2018 meeting of the Bolton Conservation Commission. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Yay!
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, so close. Good night, Pete.